Duke wins. Fatality.
What is up, people? Let's see if this works out again. Sorry about the inconvenience earlier. I'm gonna go ahead and go through this information. Kind of just go over it rather than the whole presentation thing. I can always just take this live feed and just edit it up and see what's going on from there. What's up? Nothing, nothing. That's going to be just the topics. No, I'm going to go and just basically go over all the information, and there'll be there'll be another upload with the cut and dry of what I'm going to be talking about. That way I can just live stream flow, and you'll get all the information out that I wanted to show you guys. Yeah, because earlier everything that could go wrong went wrong. Why don't you guys let me know if my audio is all right? Is it loud enough? Is it too quiet? Is it cutting in and out at all? That way I know right off the bat if it's working out or not. All right, I can go ahead and turn that up and make sure I get it all my gain a little bit higher. I wasn't sure. I had to reset up my settings, and I actually deleted OBS and reinstalled it because it kept crashing for some odd reason. How about that now? Should be a lot better. Hopefully that now you're able to hear me. So my mic shouldn't be cutting out, and it should not be too quiet anymore. Make sure it's everything set. Sure, headphones, microphone. So everything should be good now. You guys should be able to hear me perfectly. All right. Yep. Everything I'm looking at looks like it should be good. My numbers are all right. Cool. So, like I said, I wanted to go over basically, the recent reports about the greenhouse gases, climate changing. Kind of give you guys an idea of why it's more fear porn than anything. Also kind of go over some of the fake information they're giving us about the things they're doing, because what they're doing is basically making the methods that they're using and the methods that they assume will help the climate. They're making them look wonderful. They're making them look like nothing can go wrong. And if you look into it good enough, and you research the right sources, you end up finding out that it's the largest propaganda 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 scam that I've personally ever seen. And it's, if anything, it's making everything worse. And if not, and even if it's not worse, it's it's just putting a lot of people, or leading a lot of people to believe uh, in something that's not really gonna happen. Because, and I'll show you guys the information I have and how it works. It was a fluffy toke, but one of the main issues that I have with it is the fact that it's it's gonna push a lot of people to change the way they live. Regardless, they're not gonna change the way they operate. And for that, it's kind of putting a big asterisk on us, because they're also blaming us for it. Remember this. Remember, they'll even tell you that the civilian population actually produces more emittance than these industries do, when in actuality it's everything but. So let's go ahead and get into it. gonna kind of wait, but I want to get this information out as soon as I can. So, like I was saying before, I do a lot of streaming, especially lately, on the geoengineering that I've found out about, and the information that I've gotten from it. A lot of the ideas that they have for fixing the climate involves geoengineering, regardless of the fact that they won't say geoengineering. Um, One of the reasons they won't is because of the ban, the treaties that they have against geoengineering, due to the fact that they they don't know what the long term effects will be. Period. There's no ifs ands or buts about it. They can't tell you, well, this will work, and in the long run, it will be okay. The outcome will be okay. Um, but what they're doing now is geoengineering. What they're doing now is what would be considered a quick fix. Um, it's a lot of, hey, look at this. Um, the numbers are getting better over here, but they're not telling the full story, like I said. So what I wanted to show you guys is a lot of the fear porn, as I'm going to go ahead and call it, because that's exactly what it is, that they're propagating to everyone, because it's not. Now, let's get one thing straight. I do believe that there's a problem. I do believe that at some point in time it will affect us, and it's going to change things for the worse. And there's no doubt about it. Just the fact, I mean, some people may not believe in climate change. They may not believe that, we're really affecting the earth in such a short time. And that's kind of where I stand. I kind of believe that with the, and a lot of you don't believe this, but with the millions of years that earth has been here, compared to the 150 years that our industry has been actually, something, I do not believe that we were able to change the way the climate works just based on those facts right there. I believe that we do play a factor in it. I do believe that, the pollutants do have something to do with how we're living, our health, based on the fact that it's here, it's right, it's in our atmosphere. It's not part of the larger spectrum of it. Because if you go to the middle of the ocean, your pollutant levels are going to be far less than they are in a major city. So to say that the whole climate is changing based on industry, I can't ride with that too much. But at the same time, I do know it has to have some effect. Period. So one of the things that I started looking into were the organizations, the government agencies that actually have something to do with reporting and finding out these facts. And one of the major players, the ones that governments listen to, is an agency called IPCC. Basically, they are not scientists. They don't do any research. What they do is they have, I believe the number was 300 scientists who over the years will do research and compare, from other years of doing research, and then they basically report to the IPCC of their findings. It's supposed to be something like a peer review, and then from there, the IPCC reports it to us. The problem I have with how that works, and a lot of people won't agree, most most on the stream probably will, but science is biased. Science does have its own agendas, and just the simple fact that if you get certain numbers, so 300 scientists from all across the world um, get their readings and their numbers, and they all put them together, and it may look like there's a serious problem. But you can't take 300 different spots and lump them into one situation. Basically, because if you look at it, United States and China, we are producing the most pollutants. But who's to say that because they're not doing so much in, purely just throwing it out there, Australia, you can't tell me that just the two affects everything. And I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, and I know I've showed it quite a few times, but when we go through our cycles of the months and seasons, we're not always in this big cloud of CO2 like they've always explained. Only half the year are they even able to get CO2 readings. Granted, throughout the whole year we're getting bad readings from different chemicals that they don't really talk about are a problem. Um, One of the biggest issues is industry because the industry polices themselves. I searched for days, and when I say I searched for days, I am honestly telling you I searched for days, basically to find out. All right, what did you say? May I ask how the climate report scam? First of all, let me apologize for my bot because I don't think questioning is an issue at all. Let me actually do something about that right now because realistically, it's not necessary for that to happen. Hang on 1 second. Let me get this bot taken care of. Uh, all right. Well, I don't see him at the moment, so I do apologize about that. Hopefully, okay, you did get timed out. Let me see if I can get you untimed out. All right, I'll give you this. Hopefully, you have a moderator role, so now you won't get timed out again. Um, but like I said, uh, let me go ahead and read your question. May I ask how is the climate report a scam? Team is rising, or the team is rising due to the greenhouse gases. Only way we could cool down the world is if we have nuclear winter or sun blackout. Okay, so okay, perfect. What you just said is 100% what you've heard from basically the government. Now let me explain. Well, one, if we went into a nuclear winter, um, we would have no sun, and basically it would put us in a we basically go into the ice ages instantly, not instantly but very quickly, and die off on a rapid population down uh, out population which just decrease insanely fast. um, well, I'll definitely get to so no, I'll talk about it now. Blocking out the sun and the methods they want to block out is not safe. The way they want to block out the sun actually makes things worse, and I'm going to go into that and I'll explain that in a minute. But I definitely wanted to get to you guys' questions. I am looking at the chat. So if you do have any questions about this topic, go ahead and throw them in there, and hopefully I'll see them and I'll answer them for you. But like I was saying, the IPCC isn't actually doing. What's up, Sheena? Isn't actually doing the reporting. They're just reporting the findings that all these scientists from around the world get. So 2 weeks ago, they had one of their 2018 meeting, and basically gave us the world a dire warning, telling us that we had 12 years to change how uh, our industry or how we live, period, within the emission standards goes. Otherwise, that the temperature would rise and put us into a serious climate issue. Telling us basically that if we didn't do something about it, that basically what would happen is we would instantly go. We would have droughts, severe extreme weather changes, and not only that, Florida would basically be underwater along with most of the coast that we most of the coastlines around the world. Now, that being said, seems seems to not so much be an effect of what we've done. To me personally, I think it's has a lot to do with uh, just the way everything works. Um, like I said, we've gone through ice ages, we've gone through droughts, we've gone through everything that's happening. Who's to say that it's just not the cycle of Earth to do this now? You know, they've already told us now that we have already increased 1 degree Celsius, aka 2 degrees Fahrenheit. They've told us that the reason that we have all these severe weather anomalies happening as of what last year is based on the fact that our climate is this way. Now, the one of the things that I found out that kind of brought it all to light to me, to realize that this is maybe isn't as they're saying. Um, in 1998, we were told, scientists told us, that if the CO2 levels reached 387 parts per million, we would be in dire strait. Basically saying that if we hit that number, the same thing would happen, right? So obviously, at that point, they assumed things would be devastating climate wise if we hit 387. Now, the way they're making it sound now that we've hit 400 parts per million of CO2 levels is they're making it seem like it's the end. Like we have to fix it now or else, correct? And we've heard that these pollutants and the levels are a situation that we have to deal with. But what they didn't tell us is that in 2014, it where is it? Let me go ahead and find that real quick. What they're not telling us is in 2014 the numbers were just as bad. In 2014, they reported that if it got to 400, we would be in devastating situation again. Once again, the climate would change drastically. We would be in a very, very bad spot, and you would take that as okay. Well, then that means we kind of need to pick it up and do something about it. Well, the issue with that is we've hit 400, but now they've moved that number up again. So basically, they've acted like from for the past 150 years they have been watching these numbers, because they'll even tell you that when industry started, we were around 200 parts per million. The problem is that we've only been reading the CO2 levels due to industry since 1958. And in 1958, they were worried about 300. See what I'm saying? We've had issues with 300, 387, 400. Now we're around 416. And now we're getting this next dire strait. If we don't change something, this will happen. Okay? Well, if that is the case, and we do need to change things, why not in 2014, when they realized that CO2 levels would be close to going above 400? Because remember, 400 was the number. They told us that 400 things would be bad. That was 4 years ago, and for 4 years they've done stuff, but they haven't really done enough. They haven't put any emphasis on change. Like I said, now we're about 416, and again, that's only half the year. Now, the solutions to this, let's take away the fact that there's a deadline of 12 years. The solution to these things are, less fossil fuels, more natural gases, more renewable energy, solar, So then they need to basically go about it honestly, because the whole solar industry is crap. They've promoted solar energy for years, and yet they have not given one solar power alternative. Putting panels on your house and being connected to the grid is not solar. To be a complete solar energy using facility, you need you need storage. So if they were promoting solar energy to us, why weren't they promoting solar batteries that go along with those systems? Because it's not solar. All we were doing was easing the stress off their energy surges when they're producing for us. So again, like I said, when I'm looking into things, I'm seeing the different ideas and alternatives to what they feel they need to be doing. Now, the IPCC has basically told us what needs to happen or else. Okay, so this This is basically what they've told us. They've said basically that we need to drop CO2 levels by 45% by 2030, be using renewable energy 85% by 2050, and be at 0% emissions by 2050. Zero emissions. Do you understand what that means? That basically means we need to be using zero, zero, zero energy that would emit any pollution or gases that aren't good for us, basically. Now, I can tell you right off the bat, I don't think there's ever been a time humans have been civilized or even, you know, stopped nomading where they, the first cattle, when people started raising animals for food or for work purposes, that was the second that we started putting that basically we were responsible for putting emittance into the sky, to our atmosphere. Cow shit, it's methane. It does go into the atmosphere. It does affect the atmosphere. So to say we need to go to zero then means there's no more farming, right? No more farming, no more herds of cows. All has to go into a laboratory and be done there, right? See, it's kind of far fetched. Yes, I'm gonna put the panel. I'm gonna open the panel up in a second. I'm gonna go kind of get through some of this stuff, and then we'll open up the panel and go from there. Because I have a lot to say. Um, so, like I said, we've been putting admittance in, and now they've put a restriction on us and put a cap on it, basically 12 years, to do what most are acknowledging as almost impossible. So we'll move on from that. One of the solutions, and I've been talking about half of one of them, um, is basically pulling the CO2 out of the situation. So there are two main methods, but there are three. One is pulling the CO2 out of the atmosphere. The technology isn't there. I don't even believe that they're actually doing it the way they, have. I don't think they've actually started doing it. The second way is, I've talked about it. It's basically capture and storage CO2. One method would be fertilizing the ocean with iron, which basically makes the algae blooms explode. What happens is they end up absorbing as much CO2 as they can that it hits the water. They die and then basically go to the bottom of the ocean. Now, what will end up eventually happening is the CO2 does make its way back up, so they do actually have to capture it. The issue with the capturing is then they need somewhere to put it. Well, not very many people know about it, but Obama signed legislation to allow 32 sites, and in just the United States alone, there are, I believe, 122 sites across on Earth right now that are known that they are able to take the CO2 that they have captured, compress it, make it into a liquid, and then inject it into the ground. They inject it into the ground about 5,000 feet, and basically because of the sediment layers at that depth, believe that they can inject it there and then it will stay there. That is one method of the capture and storage, sequestering, and the issue with that would be is they don't have the technology. They don't know the technology to make sure 100% that it stays there. They don't have the knowledge to know what will happen in 10 years, not even 20, 30. They don't know what will happen with the CO2 storaging and into the ground. They believe that it will stay there for 1,000 years. Speculation, not even a hypothesis. speculation, clearly. Um, the other one will be the same methods of capture and storage, but they will be sequestering it actually in the ocean itself at about 10,000 feet. What happens is when the CO2 is compressed and becomes a liquid, it becomes more dense than the water does, and it actually sits on the ocean floor. Problem is they don't know how long that will happen. So again, they believe that they're able to capture enough, store it in the bottom of the oceans, and it will stay there for estimated speculation 1,000 years. Problem is, they don't know. Now remember, if in the ground it leaks, if it doesn't stay in the ocean, everything they've done, it becomes pointless. So as of right now, what they're doing is a science and a solution that it has zero safety net, zero even acknowledgement that it could even happen, that it'll work. It's just a fix it now. Now, yes, Sheena, when you're saying um, that it's exactly what causes algae bloom or the red tides. Red tides are due to the algae overpopulating themselves. Basically, when they do that, a chemical enzyme ends up happening where they become a toxic algae. It's red tide. It's a toxic algae bloom is what it is. When that happens, a lot of bad stuff happens. I'm talking dead zones in the ocean, a lot of marine life, mammals, fish die off. Not only that, it pulls the oxygen out of the sky, or I'm sorry, out of the ocean. And once you pull oxygen out of the ocean becomes acif, acidified. If I look at the word, I'll know it. There you go. Acid acidic. Ah, you know what I'm saying. There you go. But basically, it becomes toxic. It's toxic. It becomes toxic water, ocean. So basically, they know, or we know for a fact that algae blooms cause red tides. Red tides basically equal to dead spots in the ocean. Now, not every time, but most of the time. I showed you guys, I think, in my last stream. Uh, in 1993 is when all this ocean fertilization started. Well, if you look at the data that they give us, the red tides blew up. I mean, I'm saying we had over 5 times as many red tides after 1995 to present day, starting in 95. 2 years after they started actually fertilizing the ocean. So that method, it's we know the bad it can do. Again, we don't know what sequestering it in the ocean and in the ground will do down the road. And if, like I said, it does leak, it becomes a deadly situation. I had no clue. I did some more researching and found out that CO2 in a large quantity pocket is extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. For instance, a mine. We if you really look into it, a lot of mining accidents, deaths that are related to it, are related to CO2, basically leaking into these mine shafts. Here's an article basically about a miner that was killed, that got trapped in a CO2 pocket. Um, Here's another one where a large amount of CO2 emitted from a lake in, what year was it? In 1980 or 1984, Lake Manan. Um, it's another crater lake in western Cameroon. Killed 37 people. Just before that, a total of 1,746 people were smothered in the night, according to official casualty toll. The deadly cloud covered an area up to 12 miles around the lake, killing thousands of cattle as well. If you live near any of these sites that they're doing their capture and storage, this could happen. you would assume that they would have safeguards for this, but they don't because they have no idea what they would need to be safeguarding against. Now, all those little blue spots, unfortunately, are areas where earthquakes are do happen. Now, a lot of you would say, well, in the Midwest, they don't have earthquakes. Well, I'm sorry, they do, because they started fracking there. Some may believe it, some may not, but fracking does cause earthquakes. It makes new fault lines. The USGS, if you guys don't know who that is the agency that reports every earthquake, researches every single fault line. They have already admitted that fracking does do this. They do they start fault lines and cause earthquakes. Oklahoma has 100 times more earthquakes than California annually. Think about that one. Now, like I was saying, one of the biggest components of why I know this is a scam is basically um, companies that are so the largest companies that are doing this capture and storage, um, sequestering, it ironically are the fossil fuel companies. So basically, what I'm telling you right now is the companies that we are trying to move from oil, uh, other gases, are the ones doing the biggest projects to get rid of CO2. That Let that sink in for a second. The biggest emittance of CO2 and other pollutants, the companies that are doing this, and when I say doing it, industry, regardless of their numbers, put out is putting out 70 to 75% of the pollutants on Earth are due to these industries. Period. Now, it is a trickle down. It does. When I say your car, it has everything to do with them because it is their fossil fuels. Now, again, they are the biggest companies doing the biggest companies in these fossil fuels are the ones doing the capture, storage, and sequestering. What's up, Teddy? What's up, Level Headed? What's up, Lockdown Mad Crash? Level Headed today. I worked in the fracking side of the Halliburton in the tech department. Brother-in-law is one of the master fracking chemists and a leftist as well, of course. Inside Halliburton, many are well aware that oil is not fossil fuel and is replenishable. It replenishes. All right, man. I would have to see some kind of proof on that. If it were that were the case, they wouldn't need to pack up and move on to other sites. They would just sit on them. But I will tell you exactly how maybe you would assume that it is. So basically, what happens is these industries are capturing and storing them, but what they're doing is they're now using CO2. Uh, as I remember, told you that they compress it and make it a liquid. CO2 in this form is actually a way for them to recover more oil. They inject it into their wells, and they are actually able to produce 60 to 80% more oil using capture and storage CO2. So now what's happening is they're building these megalithic super plants, scrubbers, that basically will do everything. This is this is our this is going to be our victim, our tall tell whistleblower without saying anything. This is Petronova. Petronova is in Texas. They actually own one of the largest oil fields in the United States, in Houston. It's called the Southwest Ranch oil field. Um, Again, I didn't do it yet, but I will be putting every single link for every bit of the information I'm telling you guys tonight in the description. So by the time I am done, you guys will have everything I have. What's up, Cynic? Good to see you, my friend. It's been a while. Um, Let me go ahead and do the recap. I'm not going to go over everything. I'm just going to give a basic of what I'm doing. If you guys just got here, basically I just got done explaining how the IPCC has announced that we have 12 years to basically change how our pollutants, our emissions, our greenhouse gases are are produced and used. Otherwise, we'd be in dire straits. Blah blah blah. I'm gonna explain to you guys exactly how it's fear porn, exactly how it's a scam, how I don't believe at all that it is as bad as they're saying. Um, I will go over again the fact that um, they've been telling us the CO2 levels for 150 years. I'll go ahead and fix that for 200 or for 150 years of industry. But the issue is that we've only been actually reading CO2 levels from industry since 1958. So I find it kind of hard to know the numbers from 100 years prior to that. And then with that said, in 98, if we got to 387 parts per million, I'll go ahead and show that number again just so it's in your brains. Um, where is it? Yes, there it goes. 387. We would be in dire climate change, dire climate uh, effects, and basically, worst case scenario at 387. In 2014, we knew we had hit 400 parts per million, yet we weren't put in this have to do situation like they're doing now. I think right now we are about 416. And like I said just a second ago, the IPCC, who reports on these things, basically told us we have 12 years to change everything. Um, and when I say change everything, I'll go ahead and play this one more time. That means we would need to drop CO2 levels by 45% by 2030. We would need to be on 85% renewable energy by 2050. And we would need to be at zero emissions by 2050 as well. That means zero pollutants into the air, which is far-fetched. Now, with that said, kind of gone over the different time we've had multiple times of these scares. I've talked about basically, Obama signing forth the fact that we're now allowed to store CO2 in the ground without any safety net of any acknowledgement of long-term effects of this. I've showed the numerous. I showed you guys a couple of articles basically showing what could happen if pockets of CO2 were to leak in an area, which basically is extremely dangerous. What else? So now we're at the part where I explained the solution, what their solution will be. Okay, yeah, so you're saying it's not a scare, but like I said, I'm 100% ready to back what I'm saying and explain to you why this is what I call a pyramid scheme. Cynic says they've been saying we were running out of oil for decades. Some scientists think the Earth British oil, but solar power should be figured. Okay, so yeah, and I kind of went over that as well. They've been promoting this solar power for a while now, but yet they have not been doing solar power. A panel on your house is not solar power. The quote unquote solar power that they have been giving to everyone, announcing, selling to people, is basically just a relief from their systems. Less stress on their systems. It mitigates the amount of power they actually have to put forth. If you want to have an actual solar system, you need a place to store that solar power. And I have never heard one solar company give us the information and or add batteries to this to the system. So until they figure out a adequate solar system storage, it's not solar. Um, and then you're saying, okay, so you're saying the most dangerous part is the ice caps and permafrost melt. It creates a loop effect, and starts emitting more from the ground. I'd rather get my energy. Okay, so would you say that the ice caps and the permafrost melt has never happened? Because we've over the thousands and thousands of years that we've been looking at it, we know we had ice ages happen. They melt, they come back, they melt, they come back. So that's just, as far as I'm concerned, it's still an environmental situation that's always happened. And yes, the batteries, for the solar, we do have solar batteries, but when you really look into the big picture of it, we still have a lot of work to do to have adequate solar batteries that will actually work efficiently. Now, um, you're saying solar has been suppressed by oil companies and their batteries, and there is a battery, the Australian battery. Okay, so 100%. Yeah, fossil fuels again, which even which even backs what I'm about to tell you guys now. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to allow themselves to be pushed out. As in, when it comes to solar, um, Australia may have a battery that is pretty damn good, but until they come up with a battery that is first of all can be go onto a production line and be sold to the public, we still won't have solar power. A lot of you guys have heard me talk about it. One of the big components of what they want to do right now is they want to have space-based solar power. They want to launch panels into the sky, into space, and in their sense, have 24-hour solar energy. We have, and here in California, we actually have four of the largest solar farms. The issue that produces is that they are able to produce this a insane amount of energy. The problem is their run still ran off fossil fuels, but this solar space-based solar energy would actually be powering them. What's up, Unconscious? Unconscious, how you doing? Um, Now, as for what's going on with the oil, with the capture and sequestering, again, like I was saying, the biggest, the companies that are doing this solution are the fossil fuel companies. Um, okay, well, I'll go over the oil in a second. I'm actually almost done, and then I'm going to open the panel up. So if you guys want to jump on it, we can have a little discussion about it. But like I was saying, the biggest companies that are doing the capture and storage to get rid of the CO2 to mitigate it and lower our emission standards are if the oil companies. This is, like I was saying, Petronova. Uh, they're in Texas, have one of the largest oil fields in production as we speak. Now, not only is this a one of the what they would call a new generation power plant, um, what they have added to it is the CCS scrub units, which basically pulls the CO2 from the systems that they're running. So instead of just exhausting all the CO2 and other pollutants into the sky, it runs through a scrubber. And yes, the exhaust is a lot cleaner. Okay, I'll give them that. It's not perfect, but at the same time, they're not storing that into the ground to stay there. They're actually using that CO2 that is liquefied and put into the ground. They're using that to recover more oil. Like I was saying, they are actually able to recover 60 to 80% more oil every time they use it. Now, the numbers they'll start to give you, and this is where the propaganda comes in, is it's very misleading, and they'll even tell you wonderful things like, They have changed the the way oil production is done. They have done so and so, and it's revolutionary. Now, this is one of the biggest issues that I have with this situation. Is again, this is Petronova. The government gave them a grant for $190 million with the goal of reducing 90% of their carbon emissions. Now, here's the thing. Here's the big tall tale. This was like the one thing that I realized that put everything into perspective for me and made me realize what was actually going on. Now, you ready? Okay. How do you reduce more than you produce? So here, this is the realization of what is happening. Now, again, their goal is to reduce carbon from their facility by 90%. Remember that number. Oh yes, and yes, they do earn that much in a day, and you're gonna find out how much actually they really do earn in a day, and how ridiculous it is. So, um, basically, what they're doing is they pull from one site. They're doing their oil recovery from one site, capture and store. Then they run it through an 80. They run it through 80 miles worth of pipe to another facility. Once they've captured and stored it, and the facility is Petronova, where they then use it to recover more oil. Now, all that's good and all, and they'll even tell you that that basically, let me find the next one. Okay, here it is. So they'll even tell you guys, congratulations, Petronova, they've won an award and have winning results. These winning results kind of come at you like, hey, um, last year, the first year that they started this, they reduced emissions by 90%. Their oil also went up 1.1300%. Actually, it's 1.3%. Um, here's the here's the problem. What you don't know, and you will know by the time I'm done, is now that that 90% emissions down that they have, it comes from one one machine on that site. Now, when I say one machine, it comes from one burner. Petronova has 18 burners and 12 exhausts. Their job was to reduce it by 90%. Now, in all the things you will read that if you read the links that I will be putting in my description, and from what I've told you today, that 90% kind of comes across like that whole plant would be reduce their emissions by 90%. When in reality, one burner, one single burner of 18, reduced its carbon emissions by 90% in 10 months. That one burner, which the scrubbers pulled the CO2 from, then produced 1.3% more oil. That is what they got an award for. Now, put that into the bigger picture of it, right? You pull, and we'll use that one burner as the example. You pull that exhaust, that CO2 from that burner, and it does produce 90% less. But then you have produced 1.3% more oil from that burner. Now, that oil alone then gets distributed. Now, not only does it get distributed, it gets refined. So the machines have to do that. Then it has to get transported to wherever it's going. Then it goes into our cars, our businesses, and then it gets used there. So then again, it has actually produced more CO2 into the air. Is it more than that 90% that came out of that one burner? I don't know. I doubt it, and I'll explain why. Now, with that, we go into the next issue. The money that's put into this. Now, I stated earlier that the United States government gave Petronova a $190 million grant to do this. Well, that's not all they got. Because on top of that, Japan Bank of International Corporation gave them $325 million. On top of that, they receive 50%. They received 50% more oil, or 1.3% more oil. Well, their revenues went up from those taxes that they, when they sell it, 50%, along with other taxes. And then at the very bottom of this one, the sales tax exemptions. Now, all the oil that they have now sold, all the money they have made from that oil, it gets subsidized, and they get more money from the government for doing so, for paying those taxes. Because you get your taxes back, right? Yeah. Well, they also get that back. So all in all, they went. They invested $3 million themselves. All in all, they received 25% in 25% increase on their return, which means that grant was just given, the loan was just given, and all because they knew the taxes would pay it all, the subsidies would pay it all, and I did not even get into the carbon credits, the carbon market. I'm going to do that on my next live stream, and that is by far the most sickening thing I've ever heard in my life. They make money every which way. Every way you can think of, they make money in every form, every aspect of oil production. They make the money. So with that, if they're making money to do all that stuff, and they're making essentially billions and billions of dollars, right? Billions and billions of dollars. Why would fossil fuels be involved in an aspect of this emissions control that would put them out of business completely? Completely. Oh, I will. I'll get into that in a second. Because that actually goes along with what you guys were just looking at. Now, like I was saying, on a regular basis, they were able to. They were basically able to produce 300. I think it was right here because I'm looking at it as we speak. My numbers are that they made. They were able to produce, I believe it was 300 barrels per day on average on a regular basis. With the CO2 recovery method that they have started and are using, they are now producing. I'm looking through my notes. All these notes. Like I said, these are days and days of this. So, where are the numbers that I am looking? I would love to just give you guys a random number, but I would prefer not to. Okay, here it is. Okay, so they were able to produce on a regular basis before CO2 capture and storage 150 barrels per day. Then, at the beginning of this project, they went to 300 barrels per day. Okay, so as they were learning how this works, as they were seeing the method and how much they were able to produce after it, they ended up now are at 300 to 400 barrels per day. And mind you, they receive $65 per barrel. They believe in the next year or so, they will go from 400 barrels a day to 1,500 barrels per day. It's not. It, it's to the point. Basically, let me go ahead and slide this over, and let's go ahead and do it this way, because like I said, everything I'm showing you guys now is what I was, I had prepared, but I honestly think we're at the point in tonight's fun where we need to go to the source. So I'm gonna go ahead and share this window with you guys, and we're gonna go ahead and just go over to Petronova's website, because it's like I said, I can give you guys the numbers that I have, but to see it yourself is the better for me. When I think about it, it'd be probably better for you guys to see exactly where I'm getting my information from. Get this stuff up real quick. All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because I wasn't ready for this one or to use these yet, but we're good to go. So, go ahead and over to there. Go to Petronova. Look, okay, let me get to the actual site that I had been on. Oh, there it is. No fun. Ironically, this is not the site they were giving me before, so you have to navigate myself there. I'm here. One second, because this, like I said, this is the site that I was finding all the information on. They actually have their own site rather than having to go through and find it through other means or other sources, so to speak. Rather go straight to theirs. There it is. What's up, one neon? Yeah, so okay, you put the number in 375 million per day in 2011. I think right now they are at around 478 million a day, and it's growing obviously. Okay, here we go. Because the reason I wanted to go to this site also is I wanted you to also be introduced to the ones that report what they're actually doing. It's called the Golden Community, which is a board of, I believe, 100 members from different industries. Unfortunately, most of those industries have are small aspect parts of fossil fuels, so it's kind of hard to mitigate what's being falsified. So, like I was saying, this is their website. This is the site where I got a lot of my information from them because all my number and where they're at came from them. Just so you guys know, I didn't get it from a site that hates them or whatnot. Um, so let me just go down. I wanted to show you guys some of the fun things they're saying to us. The path to productivity, right? Protecting our planet. Now, they love doing this. Every day, Petronova captures enough carbon dioxide to remove 350,000 cars from the road. Remember these things. Remember what I'm saying right now. A smarter solution. Carbon capture extends the life of mature oil fields, playing an important role in our country's domestic economy. Here it goes. Before Petronova, the West Rancho oil field was producing an average of 300 barrels of oil daily. Within the first 4 years of carbon dioxide enhanced oil recovery, we eclipsed I'm sorry, my numbers were wrong. 4,000 barrels per day. And like I was saying, they do receive $65 per barrel. I commend all those who contributed to the major achievement, says Security of Energy Rick Patrick. Then we get to the wonderful part of the results. Now, I'm going to tell you now that I actually go back to my OBS and show you the readout of the results. Why? Because you have to go so deep into their website to find these results. It is sickening. Now, let's go to the results so you guys can see what the problem with capture and storage and oil recovery enhancement is. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is what makes it the sickest and most disgusting part that has to do with it. So here we go. Favorable oil prices and the newly increased tax credits may encourage NRG to replicate the project in a big Cajun plant in New Roads, Louisiana, that is similar proximity to the older oil fields that would be benefit from EOR. So they've already have another project where they'll be doing the same thing. Now here's what's bad: the carbon capture system has reduced 2007 CO2 emissions intensively of Unit 8 by 25% from the previous year. Again, that's what I was saying. It's only one part. It's not these tests didn't come from the whole plant themselves. Basically are divided by the megawatt generated. Now here is the sickening part. Remember that 90%. Remember what the goal of CO2 of this carbon capturing is. However, considering the emissions of the gas-fired turbine that powers the carbon capture system, and the emissions from the additional petroleum products resulting from EOR, the total impact of carbon capture system is actually an estimated 2% increase. A 2% increase in CO2 emissions. So with all that has been said, all the money they've made through subsidies for capturing and storage, for all the money they've received from selling that extra, remember, they went from 300 barrels to 4,000 barrels. And they're being awarded like they did good. And in all actuality, they produced 2% more CO2 than previous year. Nope. You see, you got to read it again. And I'll pull up the other one again. So, just read it. That 90%, and you can go on the website and read it yourself. They pulled 90%. Go ahead and find that real quick. Because, like I said, it's exactly why I have it titled on my screen as misleading report. Again, it says Petro Nova became operational in 2006 on a budget of scheduled with the first 10 months. The plant delivered more than 100 million tons of captured carbon dioxide. Gotta make it a little bit bigger because I can't see it. Okay, there's carbon dioxide and boosted oil productions by 1.3%. 2017, Petronova received recognition or blah 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 blah, received recognition as both projects of the year, recognition of both projects of the year, and the coal-fired project of the year awarded by Power Energy. Overall, the project represents an accomplishment for cleaner energy today and a proven vision for how we can enhance oil-powered technology for the future. Everything is bigger in Texas. It is fitting that the largest post-combustion carbon capture facility in the world is right here in the Lone Star State. That Governor Greg Abbott, Texas has become the global leader in innovation thanks to the pioneering spirits companies like NRG and JX Lipton, who are fueling the next generation of energy productions through projects like Petronova. Negative 90% emissions. Again, that is from one burner. One burner. Now, again, they what I read with the 2% increase was based on what they did for the year. Again, the 90% was based on what? One burner. And I'll go ahead and find that right there because, like I said, they don't put this stuff out there. It's not something you're just going to go on here and just easily find. So I'm going to go ahead and find it real quick so you can see that exactly what I was saying is exactly how it was. Okay, okay, so here it is. So, aftercare injected in oil, the production, not it. Okay, I'm gonna try to find out as I'm going. But yeah, it's not what they're saying. It's actually flopped. So even like you said, 2% increase versus 90% decrease doesn't even make sense. Kind of see how those numbers are misleading. Now, through all of this, and I'm going to go ahead and go ahead. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and open the panel. So if you guys want to come on, no problem at all. You guys are more than welcome. Here, this one. Okay, so like I was saying, through all of this, there there are those underlying solutions, the ones that aren't talked about, the ones that basically are they sit under they basically sit under a in a heavily guarded booth where no one can hear about it, it doesn't get reported, and whistleblowers get eliminated, right? So check this out. One of the solutions on the table, which most of us know about, is solar radiating, solar blanketing, cloud whitening, however you want to say it. Now, a lot of deniers will tell us, no, it's not going to happen. No, it doesn't happen. I've already shown you that ocean fertilization happens, even though they say it doesn't. Now, let me show you this. This is their next plan. This is solar. What they'll do is they will pump sulfur into a plant. The plane that they do plan on using, which we are seeing right here. I got a way to pause. Oh, there it goes. Trying to pause it. On 1 second. Which one of my buttons here does that? Okay, but basically, this plane is a. Oh, there it goes. Their plan would be to pump 160 gallons of sulfur into that plane, which will make multiple missions daily, and basically pump sulfur into the sky. Now, them pumping the sulfur into the sky comes with its disadvantages, because obviously sulfur is dangerous, deadly. They will have to pump it into the stratosphere based on the fact that the stratosphere has the less environmental or climate effects within, wind, rain doesn't happen there. So it'd be the spot where the sulfur would actually last longer. Now the problem is that the amount of sulfur needed would they would have to be basically doing this every day, multiple times a day, for a year. They can't stop doing it, because if they stop doing it, then it mitigates all the sulfur they've put into the sky already. Right? So if that's the case, and they don't do it, deniers, please explain why they have the plane, why they have the plan, and exactly how they would have to implement it. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't. None of that makes sense. Because now that I've gotten all this information out, I'm going to that solar radiation. That's my next That's my next researching project. I'm going to find out about that stuff, and I'm going to report all as much as I can to you guys as well. It says, what's the benefits do they receive? Benefit from solar radiation? None. They would hope to cool the planet, not knowing what that amount of sulfur would do after it leaves the stratosphere, though. That's the issue with that one. Now, guys, again, all the information that I've given you guys tonight, it's going to be in my description. I know I'm going to end up talking about a lot of this stuff again. There was a whole aspect of this that I didn't talk about, which is the carbon market, um, and with that, carbon credits. It's it's not it's not feasible to be doing what we're doing now if we have to do it in 12 years. It's not feasible if we want to clean up the planet, period. It doesn't work. How do you use a method that you have no clue what the long-term effects will be? You don't know what will happen in 15, 20 years. What if it's going to be worse because of what you're doing now? They don't know. So why are we doing it? I know. Money. 100% money. Like I've been saying, fossil fuel industry, they will never put themselves out of business. Ever. Doesn't make sense. Why would they even think to do that? You don't think they look long term? You don't think they're gonna be? You think they're gonna walk around and in 10 years be like, "Oh shit, we put ourselves out of bit"? No, nope, not gonna happen. Fossil fuel, they're not dumb. They're not going anywhere. Capture and carry, it's a scam, the pyramid scheme, and the ones that are making out of it, government, oil companies, and the brokers. That's it. It's pretty simple. Anybody who doesn't believe it still, we can have a personal hangout, and I can give you the insane details without having to realize that there are people here listening, and that I do got to constantly be giving the information out in an order in which it makes sense. Um, but like I said, go ahead and open this panel up right now. Everything is set up. Let me get the link for you guys. I hope I made my presentation was clear enough that it makes sense to you guys. If not, please ask away all the questions you want right now. It is actually the perfect time to do so. Opening up the panel, so if you want to come on and ask, that's cool. If you want to, give your points, that'd be awesome as well. I completely understand the fact that I couldn't possibly have given you everything. I couldn't possibly have known everything in the time that I've been doing my research. But to me, it's from what I found, it's pretty sickening that I found so much, and it's not so clear or it's not being promoted to everyone else, in the public about how this is really working out. The shit they're saying is just bullshit. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the link in the chat right now. Feel free to jump on and let me know your opinion. I mean, I've actually talked to people that believe that everything that I've given, or that I think that I've talked to people about a lot of this stuff, they believe that I'm spouting bullshit. Okay, well, if you believe I'm spouting bullshit, then feel free to come on in and explain to me where my bullshit is coming from. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's definitely not bullshit. All right, so here you go. Links in the chat. And all is welcome. All right, just gonna go to this chat real quick. What's up, Quentin? How you doing? They're literally killing people. What are the benefits to receive? Solar radiation. I can explain that. The best ways to cool the planet is to stop pumping carbon into the air. Yeah, I definitely don't think blanketing, the cloud whitening or brightening or solar blanketing is a good idea though. I think that's probably by far the worst idea that they can come up with. But yeah, I mean it's it's as much of a pyramid scheme as I've ever seen in my life. To tell you the truth. The new or they knew the effects when they started pushing oil. They don't tell us. We now found out that they just keep pushing. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's the main reason this capture carry even came about. They found a way to recover more, but they needed a reason to push it. You can't tell them, hey, we can produce what over 100 times more. We can recover 100 times more oil. I know oil is bad for the environment. We know the pollutants of it, but this is good. Okay, well, how do you push that? Carbon capturing. Um, Again, there are hundreds of sites. There are 122 sites that I know of that are that you can find that they are putting carbon into the ground and not doing anything with it. Now, I hate to say it, but I would rather them recover oil with it if that's what they're going to do, um, than than to uh, than to be just sticking it in the ground because that costs millions of dollars. It produces CO2 in the air when when they're transporting this stuff. Now, even worse than that, what happens when if it leaks? Because if it leaks, not only is everything they did pointless, but if it's near a city or any population, it's extremely deadly. I read that report. It was a cloud of carbon dioxide, 12 miles, 12 miles in area. 1,700 people dead because of a carbon or CO2 leak. That easy. Okay, I'll go ahead and just don't take it out in the first. Well, see, that's the thing. The the majority of the carbon that they are capturing, they're making happen. The ocean fertilization that I was talking about earlier with the algae bloom, that is a that was like the tall tale sign. Why are they producing or why are they making CO2? Because they know for a fact that they can capture more, but to get there, they need the boats. The biggest thing that I saw when I first started researching all this was the fact that the main reason it hadn't taken off was that they couldn't figure out how to use less CO2 to do these things than they would actually recover. That's when I realized like they started just pushing all these big numbers of how much they were capturing. Million parts, a million tons here, a million tons there. But what they weren't telling you is that they were producing 3 times that in a single day. It's pretty sick. No, actually, I haven't. That's kind of where I want to start going towards everything. Um, what I realized is that it's very difficult to explain all of it in a big in one big picture because it's so many different aspects of this situation. Exactly, 100%. There won't be. There the only way I can think of for these quote unquote solutions to work is realistically solar, which has been around a long time, but not correctly. I think someone stated it earlier, and I was trying to say it. The battery, the storage of solar energy is we haven't they realistically haven't even started. When you look at the big picture, haven't even started to have an efficient way of storing solar energy. It's complete madness to me that they assume that 12 years is anything. And that's why I 100% believe it's fear porn. Because if it wasn't, they wouldn't, if it was that big of a deal, they would put more emphasis on making sure it's done and implementing things that will work than all these effects that increase CO2 levels. They, trust me, scientists know that adding um, adding CO2 in the ground is dangerous because they don't have the technology or the knowledge to be able to make sure it stays in the ground. They don't even know how if it will vehemently stay in the ocean when they sequester it there. I mean, it's come on. It's there's no way they can get to the emission standards that they're bullshitting. Yeah, the link above. Anybody who wants to come on, if you believe that what I'm saying is complete crap, if you have a different version, if you have want to join in and just bullshit, more than welcome. Anybody wants to jump on. Um, Actually, let me go ahead and get this link. There's a couple people I know that need the link somewhere else, and I'll go ahead and throw it out there that way. And yeah, and if you need me to, for the people that I do know, I can always. I'm gonna go ahead and send the links to the back chat. That way, probably be a lot easier. Let's see. All right. So I got some of those out. Anybody wants to join? Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's there's so many different aspects of what's going on that I haven't covered yet. That I mean, I honestly can't even imagine running out of stuff to say. Yeah, I don't get what up with the Discord link. When I put it out there, right, I guess as we speak, I'm going to go ahead and grab that link right now. I have no idea why it does that, but even when I set my invitations to um, forever, not run out, infinite uses, uh, for some reason it always basically just runs out on me. 'Cause I'm pretty sure right now it's like a quote unquote expired, but I have no idea. Let me see. All right. Okay, so apologize. Right now, I'm kind of doing like three, four things at a time. Now that I got all that out, um, but yeah, let me get that link in there. Or it's not that. Well, I'm gonna get the link anyway. But yeah, it's between the profit. It's 100% about the profits when it comes to like. I've had people say, "Well, what does the government benefit from it?" You do realize that the government they make a lot of goddamn money from taxes and allowances. Now, I'm not really going to get into it because, again, like I said, it is a whole different animal. Um, Pretty sure a few of you know. Okay, no worries, trouble. I'm just happy you're here. Thank you. Um, is we go into the next factor of, and I will be streaming about this next time. The carbon market, carbon credits. Um, that is by far what made me realize that because I mean we already knew the government don't give a crap, right? We knew that that wasn't something that we had to figure out, or not government. I'm sorry, that the fossil fuel companies were money hungry assholes. But people telling me that why would the government allow this when if you realize the amount of money they received for penalties that they are allowed to issue. If you realize the amount of money that the government made from the taxes for these companies to use the land, it's insane. I'm pretty sure I showed you guys the picture. Go ahead and find that real quick. The picture of there it is. The picture of all the pipelines that run. Where is it? Here it is. Remember, so and this mapping is old. I think I'm probably about 3 years behind on this piping map. But all those lines you're seeing right there are oil lines that run from a place of capture to a place of storage, or from a well to a actual plant. And just so you can have an idea of how much is out there, 4,500 miles worth of oil pipes run through the United States. Just the United States. It's not even close to half. Not even close. Yeah, and that's the other thing. So, another aspect of this that I had um, the wonderful uh, yeah, the wonderful. Basically, this makes me fucking sick every time I think about it. The 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 chance to witness is the fact that there actually is a website, and I don't have it on right now. I gotta find it through all my little bookmarks. But there's a website that has every single federal politician that has something to do with fossil fuels. Now, not just the guys that invest, because if you really want to get to the realization of it, every politician invests in fossil fuels because that's where the money's at. Now, let's see. We go check that out real quick. Here, yeah, let me get my Hangout up because I can't see you right now. Sheena, right? I think I remember. Yeah, because I know the voice. Let me get the Hangout up real quick. I know the voice. How you doing? Yeah, so you've been yeah, you were here for the whole pretty much the whole thing. Pretty sickening, right? Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, the one thing that I've gotten from it that is just insane to me is the fact that the way they exactly like you were saying, show it to everybody. They realistically act like it's perfectly normal to just bullshit about everything. They don't explain the real effects. They don't explain, they don't explain what 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 the long term effects of everything are. They just come at us with, everything's going bad. We have to do this, and this is why we're doing this now. That's it.
Well, see, and I think that's all. I think it's all lies. I actually think that fossil fuels being said to be bad for our environment is a lie too. I don't think it's bad for our environment, and it should be almost free like water because it does replenish itself. my husband worked in the oil field for years, and they would close off a well and come back, and it's full again. So I mean, it constant. That's not possible if it's considered a fossil fuel.
Let's see. So what I've gotten from that is more or less it'd be what I consider the sponge effect, where they'll take the quantity of a well, and then whatever's like in the nooks and crannies, so to speak, that they couldn't get to is what they're coming back for. But and I said I really don't know very much about it, so I could be
Well,
100% wrong.
I will tell you from a oil fields person's wife perspective, they literally go back in there and the oil is flowing out. It literally replenishes itself. It's not a resource that's going to go away. It's just like water. You take water out of the aquifer fills back up
Okay, I see.
naturally.
Okay, now it makes more sense now. Okay, it, well, that's also the other thing. A lot of people don't realize is that the majority of the oil that we do recover, the government buys that from these companies, and they just store it somewhere, and then they go and buy from Saudi Arabia and ship it back here, based on the fact that if they sold it here, they'd have to charge us more, so they use their oil. It's like this weird cluster of why.
It's kind of like back a long time ago. I can't remember the years, but back in the day, the the royalty in England or whatever would go over to China and buy silver real cheap because silver was real cheap. They wanted gold or vice versa. I can't remember which way it was, but it was like that nobody wanted silver and everybody wanted gold. So they went over there and bought all the silver real cheap and came back to where they lived and sold it expensive because everybody wanted it here. So they just played that game back and forth because they had the money to sell and do that. So they basically got the monopoly
Yep, 100%.
wherever they went. You know, it's the same thing. Nude game, same thing.
Yeah, it's freaking sickening how they do it, and the the worst part is it's not so much that they're even like behind closed doors doing it. Like all this, everything we can see it. It's that the people that don't care to look, or I don't know. I have no idea why
They
everyone doesn't
just
know.
don't care to look, or they even if they did see it, they don't think nothing about it because they're like, oh well, that's just how people that are rich are. They're using their resources to be still rich. But it's bigger than that.
Yeah, and actually, someone in the chat said it was basically saying stop looking at the powers and companies, and for all the blame, and the people that sucked it up and love it. And you know what? And that's like you were just saying. I don't want to give up my vehicle. I don't want. You know what I mean? I mean, if we really thought about it, if all that stuff, if we got rid of all these industries right now, we'd basically be back to the Stone Age. And honestly, I could do the off the grid thing, but you want to talk population? I don't think anyone anywhere near enough people would be willing to do that to give up fossil fuels.
Not enough people could. We couldn't get enough people to just even if we stopped for like a week, everybody, it they would crumble.
Oh
They would
yeah, oh
crumble.
yeah,
But that's not going to happen. It's not. We're never going to get that many people behind this. And but they would fall
oh yeah, big time.
in a week.
Yeah,
And
well,
like you said, I could go off the grid, but what's it going to do? It's not going to do anything except make me live miserably.
well, that's the thing. It's not about would you or I. It would be everybody. If we're talking solution, the solution, it'd be the world would have to would have to sign on to it, not just a select few. Otherwise, the select few that didn't sign on to it are going to continue to do it. They're going to continue to use fossil
And that
fuel.
will
So,
sustain them. That will sustain them still. The powers that be,
mhm.
those people that wouldn't go along with it, that would sustain them through the rough time. I mean, it wouldn't hurt them enough.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I mean. They're not going anywhere. I the
No. No, and it's sad. It's sad, but it's also, I mean, this is just from a Christian point of view. That's the way it's going to be.
Mhm. Exactly.
Uh, you know, we cannot beat the devil here. This is his playground,
And
and
for anybody who does believe,
those people are working for them.
yeah, well, anybody who believes that what the IPCC was talking about with the only way to save everybody was zero emissions by 2050. If anybody in their right mind thinks that fossil fuel is going to put themselves out of business in 22 years, you need to get your head checked. Like you just said, they're not going anywhere. They're not gonna, and not only are they not
Well,
going
and
anywhere, they're
also
not gonna take themselves out of
zero
it.
emissions. Zero emissions also means we don't breathe either.
Yeah, every bit of what you're
You
saying,
know that.
yeah, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. Like,
Because
uh,
CO2, that they talked about that in that as well. CO2, we need to bring the human populace down, and through vaccines and blah blah blah, we might be able to do that.
yeah, I mean, to think about it, if you eat like everything you eat, vegetables, vegans, everybody, meat eaters, the whole nine, everything goes from being outside, then has to be in a lab being made because cows emit. The machines and the manpower that it takes to grow vegetables and produce for everybody has emittance to it. So I mean, zero emissions is like, I don't think they even thought about
It's
it before they said
impossible.
it. Yeah, completely impossible. Now,
I remember when I was a kid and the government was talking about taxing cattle farmers for the cow farts. Like literal. I'm not kidding. I know it's laughable, but they were really talking about taxing cattle ranchers like so much per head of cow for the emissions of farts.
jeez.
Whatever that's called, carbon dioxide
No,
or
the methane.
methane gas,
Yeah,
methane gas.
yeah.
And my sister was gonna get my grandfather like a case of Beano because he had a lot of cattle for Christmas.
That is insane. Do they seriously do that, or they just talked about it?
Oh, they talked about it. It never got passed. Not here
Jeez.
anyway in Texas, but it might be passed somewhere else, which was just the fact that they were talking about it is insane.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Well, the worst part is, like I said, they gave us 12 years to start this fix that they're talking about, and everything I was reading was, we don't know this, we don't know that, and I would have thought, 20 years ago they would have started less fossil fuel companies and more other stuff. It,
Well, isn't CO2 what we breathe out?
uh, yes. No, wait. See, that's always confused me
Now,
as well because I
why
know,
do we need to lower CO2? Because isn't that what plants feed off of?
yes, but if there's not enough plants to absorb the CO2, then it just becomes an excess gas. So
I would think that the plants would just be thriving because they have like abundance of their that because they make
well,
food with that.
well, so like a tree can only absorb so much CO2, and that's kind of like where the whole deforestation thing comes into play. Because there's only a certain amount a tree can absorb at a time, then you still need a lot more trees to absorb like all of it. So one of the solutions was planting a billion trees. But the problem is
Right.
you can't plant a billion full grown trees because it doesn't it just doesn't work that way.
Well, you're speaking to a super skeptic. I was never skeptic till like 2 years ago, but now I'm like, how do they know how much a plant can absorb? How do they know that?
At best, the only thing they could actually do is maybe, I don't even know the exact method of doing it, but find out the amount of CO2 in a plant at any given time, it would be the only way I can think of. So it says,
Maybe.
okay, yeah. So
Hey,
we,
you get where I'm going with this though, is that
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. So yeah.
I
You
was
were right. We
told when I was very
exhale.
young that a field of grass can actually, because it's a simple blade, a field of grass can convert CO2 quicker and more easily than like say an acre of grass can do a better job than an acre of trees.
I believe it. It takes up, yeah, a lot more
Even though
area.
trees are bigger, but their leaves are more,
Yeah,
it's more complicated. They can't convert it as quickly. And I've heard grass can do a better job.
yeah. And you were right. We exhale carbon dioxide, but like you said, you know, plants thrive off carbon dioxide. So you would think, see,
Right. So I don't see why it's a problem.
yeah, I mean, you would think, well, one of the issues that I saw when I was reading through everything is that the solutions, all the solutions that they had, that you would think seem more logical than what they're doing now, it's like if they would have just started that uh, 20, 30 years ago, we probably wouldn't be in a situation that way. And because it seems so much easier to have done that so long ago, that's why I believe like all the crap they're saying now is crap. That's why I think it's a scam. That's why I think it's a pyramid scheme. I
I
could.
think it's a pyramid scheme, and I think it's crap. I don't believe in climate change, global warming, or any of that. I think that the creator of this place will destroy it when he's good and ready, and we can't do it.
Well, see,
No matter what we do.
that's the other thing. It's what the biggest red. I mean, this is by far the biggest red flag to me. Why would they wait till we have only 12 years before shit got real
To
bad
say
to
anything.
say anything? Like, yeah, come
Yeah,
on.
it's it's a psyop. It's a freak people out. Oh, it's in, and then follow us. There's going to be somewhere where we're going to be given a choice to follow something to help us out from whatever they're going to do, and they've been programming us to get ready for it, you guys. And don't believe them. It's going to be crap. It's going to be a lie. That's my opinion. That's my opinion, Sean. I don't.
No,
Mm.
hey, and it's more than welcome because, like I said, I don't know enough about any. I don't know enough about it to be like you're right or wrong. I'm learning 100%.
Well, I don't know if I'm right or wrong either.
Well,
I'm just that's what I feel is going to happen. It seems like that's where they're trying to take us.
hmm? Well,
Every day it's something that they keep pushing in different agendas. Ever since they got rid of the Smith Mutt Act,
what was that?
our news does not tell us the truth.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
Smith Mutt Act.
I think I have an idea
I
which it.
I know it's pronounced Smith Mutt, but it's like Smith Mundt. It's not month. I don't know. But anyway, that was a law that existed. It said our country, our government could not use propaganda to spread propaganda against us in our own country, because that's basically what you use against your enemies. And Obama got rid of that law.
Oh yeah. Well, see, that's the other
He
thing.
got rid of it.
They they, they do a
So
lot
now
of that.
our freaking government can use the news to manipulate all kinds of stuff to us.
Oh yeah, big. And that's. I mean, I mean, they've been out so many times nowadays about that kind of stuff. It's to the point now where it's why do we even have the news? why do they even try to inform us? Um, a lot of the things I found out were the people that do like the data collecting for oil and fossil fuels aren't even federal agencies. And then the federal agencies, they just get their stuff from them. So it's like everything we're getting is just what they think we want to see.
It's who it's who says. We believe the who says.
Yeah, it's what
And
the company that does the data retrieval and the investigations for that company I was talking about, Petronova, it's a company called Golden Communities, and none of them have any degrees or have any past experience in the oil field. Not one of them.
So they don't know anything what they're talking about. They
Nope.
have no clue what
Nope.
they're talking about.
But they do have a whole section on their website uh, based on who our investors are.
It's just like if you go file a report with the police against a police officer, then other police officers investigate it. Does that seem logical?
Yeah. It's
uh,
oh, it's so insane, and that was what irritated the crap. Because, like I said, when I went to that the Petronova site, the first thing I wanted to do was find out how much CO2s or CO2 they produced a year, or how much oil they produced a year. I'm telling you right now, I will give anybody $20 if you can find that in the next 2 hours on their website, not some random place, on their site, because they don't. They give you everything.
from them, a true
Yeah,
source, their source.
exactly. So everything they had on that website that I was showing you guys is propaganda. Like I said, all that stuff was like awards for this and that, and then at the bottom of it was a 2% increase. All this, how great this is, and
A
realistic
2% increase from what?
in CO2. They had 2% more CO2 produced from their machines and all their stuff than when they started all the CO2 capturing. So basically, the only real award they should have gotten was the award for producing 110 times more
CO2?
oil. No, oil.
Anyway,
That's what they got out of it.
a law. Oh.
Yeah, it's.
Well, I find it all insanity. I personally am not worried about CO2 emissions and
No. I was for a
any of
second.
that. I'm not worried about that.
I was for a second until after probably over the past 2 weeks of me doing all this research on this one company did I realize
And
that
now you see it's kind of like bullshit.
yeah. Oh wow, yeah. I mean, again, they're not putting themselves out of business for one. For two, I mean, they're making money doing a solution that doesn't work.
That's making the solution worse.
They're literally pushing technology that is worse for the climate, yet saying it's better. And then you look at another site and they're saying they have no idea what it will do long term, and it's like all this crap is happening, and it's just like it makes my brain hurt. It,
This is how I look at stuff. If something is being bad for the environment, it's probably not. It's probably quite the opposite. And if they're saying something's good for the environment or good for you, it's probably bad for you.
yeah, well, like the way I was thinking about it, I was like,
You know,
well, if something
like fluoride in the water, it's good for you.
yeah, exactly. 'Cause I was thinking about, I was like, if something, and I tried to put it as close to home as I could to make it, like make it a serious situation. I went, if something was happening, like let's say I had a gas leak in my house, would I use a method to fix that gas leak that would make me money, or would it not matter and I would fix it whether it cost me money or not? And that's not how the government works. If it was that big of a deal, you would think the government went, we're gonna be in debt trillions more dollars because we have to fix this situation. That's not how it is. They basically make
No.
sure they have money. They make money. They can. Big oil companies make money. They're not losing. No one's losing money to fix anything.
They're gonna break out the duct tape or, you know, baling wire, whatever kind of
Yeah.
willy-nilly thing they can do to fix the problem just to get by.
hmm It's so ridiculous how it works. It's just
That's the system we live in, brother. They don't care about us. They don't even care about this world.
oh no, they clearly don't. Clearly, I can't even say they
It's
have a
insanity.
real solution to it, because I'm not sure if they realize it or not, and unfortunately I'm pretty sure they do. You can't spend money if there's nothing to spend it on. and, and if shit hits the fan like they make it seem, then all this power and money that they have is going to be worthless.
Exactly. They're
It,
gonna hit rock bottom. I don't know what's gonna happen when they do that.
well, unfortunately, we're the ones who are
Because
we're gonna
they're
know.
getting there soon.
Well, we're gonna know about it, and I'm pretty sure it'll affect us before it will affect them.
Oh heck yeah, for sure. They've got their little niche, whatever you call it, their little thing set aside
Oh
that
yeah.
they're ready for
Oh
when
yeah.
it
Uh,
happens. But
and that's why I was telling people, because all these people that I talk to on the Discord side, they're all deniers, and they're like, they're not putting stuff in the ocean. Okay, well, that's beyond proving. I don't even need to talk about it with them anymore, because that's how obvious that is. But now we're talking about solar radiation, and it's like, do you really think that, for one, they're going to give us this dire straight warning, deadline, then be talking about this method of solar blanketing, and not have already started doing it? Like, where do you think? How do you think technology and science and governments work? They don't just talk about something for years and years and talk to us about it. They do that
no,
shit behind our
they
backs.
already got it planned out
Yep.
way before we found out.
Mm. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, they. Why wouldn't they have started? I mean, I know they've started to do it. But when they talk about people that talk about chemtrails, it makes me sick. I may not go. I may not think a lot of the chemtrail stories are how it really is, but there is something there. It doesn't. People don't just.
There is something there.
Yeah, people don't just make conspiracies up from thin air. A conspiracy comes from something. Something had to have happened that would make that conspiracy even viable even in a small way. Something had to have happened. I haven't heard a conspiracy that was so far fetched it was ridiculous. I mean that it's impossible. I mean, I don't believe in aliens, but Area 52 does give a compelling reason for people to believe in aliens. It,
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of good alien content out there that is very feasible. I don't believe in aliens either, but I do think that what these people have documented and stuff is true. I just think it might be misconstrued. I
yeah.
personally think it's probably interdimensional demons or people seeing angels and demons fighting or whatever. I don't know. I know you probably don't want to get into any kind of
It's fine. I mean,
spiritual thing.
but here's the reality of it. We don't know. I can't say you're crazy. I don't know. I have no clue. I can't. I have nothing that says here. This is how I know what you're saying is wrong. Nope, can't do it. I don't believe in aliens, but
Uh,
there's nothing in
I don't believe in aliens because I don't believe in space.
well, see, that's the thing. I there's nothing that can prove either way for us to just stop the conversation with and knowing for a fact. So the people that are straight deniers of these things, those are the ones that are,
Something's happening.
yeah. Well, they're the people. They're the reason why governments are able to get away with this shit.
Yeah, because they're completely blind. They don't want to believe anything except for what their government tells them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not one of those people. I might say I don't believe in aliens, but I'm not knocking what you're saying
mhm,
is what you saw. I'm
exactly.
just saying I don't believe it's from a different world, like out there in in the stars.
Or the even better way of,
Mm.
of explaining it is my brain can't see that. Therefore, and since I haven't seen something to make my brain believe it, it's not there. That's normal. That's not that bad. The problem is
I
when people
I
go,
personally have seen lights in the skies that I
oh,
could not explain.
I, I ain't gonna, I've
I've
seen stuff, but the thing is, because I don't believe in it, I try to rationalize it and what it could be in my brain a thousand and
Yes,
one times.
I try to rationalize it, and I'm like, well, maybe it's like the Air Force doing like dog fights or something and dropping flares, and
And that
but
right
then I
there.
have to think about back there is that I have to look back and be like, that wasn't really flares either, but
But see, but
I rationalize things.
what you're doing right there, just it could be that, just that alone is good. That right there means you're not closed-minded. But the problem is that most people, especially the people we have to interact with, are so closed-minded. The first thought is government-related. Period. They're done. They don't even have to think about it no more. Period. Nope. Don't. Nope. Light in the sky.
Well, I
Airplane.
don't want to get locked in. I don't want to get locked in the conspiracy theorist mind,
We'll see there, but see,
because
there's
that
different.
happens. And anybody listening, it happens. You get like locked in, and
Hmm?
you can't get away. And everything's a conspiracy. Not everything is.
Exactly. And see, that's the
You know.
hardest thing for me because well, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know how when I come around this, there's a lot of things that I just go, you said what? And I know it's not how, or I feel it's not that way. Because when I look into these things, I need something that will keep me there, but it has to be something it's feasible. Um, when it comes to like 9/11, I don't think I know I don't think it was holograms. I don't think there were elves cutting fucking steel the night before, but I haven't seen anything for that. But at the same time, I can't tell people that I believe something based on maybes. You know what I mean? I can't. There's no way for me to even have even a smidget of an idea of how to prove a plane was a hologram. So I can't use that. Now, I won't just go off and
I
say
can definitely
period.
say wholeheartedly, a plane did not bring that building to the ground.
Well,
It's
see,
impossible.
well,
I
see,
can say that.
I would say you are right. A whole aspect of from or a whole bunch of events of the plane hitting, or is actually what brought the building down. But that's my rationality from it, right? But as long as someone doesn't say nothing hit the building, and it just fell, it doesn't work because I've talked to people who tell me that it was impossible for a plane to have done that, and because it was 10-foot thick concrete walls, and here's the problem. My father actually did surveying on the World Trade Center, and after it happened, we had talked about it. I not only from his account, but from pictures of the towers. The walls aren't constructed the way a lot of people say they are. So then the plane can't do it. Doesn't work in how I know that building's made. But here's the thing.
Really?
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. Because in my mind and my rationality of how it worked, I still believe it's a false flag. But I've constructed and found my evidence through means of things I actually found. Now, to me, that means some people may not be 100% right on it. Maybe they kind of went down a different path than I did to figure this out. But at the same time, something is not right with what happened. So, in all aspects of it, that's something's not right. Period. We're not crazy for
Period. That's
thinking.
really all that matters.
Exactly.
It didn't happen like it was told on the mainstream.
Because the reality of it is, whether you believe it's a hologram, whether you believe it was thermite, or I believe it was known it was going to happen and it just happened this way, but it was a false flag. No matter what, none of us are going to know the truth 100%, unless someone who was there making the plans or acknowledging what was going to happen whistleblows and tells us all. That hasn't happened yet, so guess what? We're all just trying to figure it out. That's the realization.
And well, but yet we can all agree that it wasn't right.
Exactly.
Whatever did take place it doesn't compute.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what it is. And what I think it is because there are things about different conspiracies that I think have happened that I don't even talk about, based on how a denier would react to it. So I kind of when I go about these things, I look for information that's going to keep a denier listening. Because like you guys, I'm not honestly to tell you the truth, I don't do this to convince you guys, because you guys are going to look it up yourself. You guys are going to figure it out. If something doesn't make sense that I say, you're going to go look it up, or you're going to ask questions, or you're gonna go around means of figuring out what the hell's going on. But a denier, they're not going to go do those things. So I'm
They were not even going to be here,
well, I try. I put my
generally.
well. The best part is I actually put myself in situations where they are, and I'll interject into a conversation just to make sure that happens. Um, but I know that when I start talking to deniers, I have only a certain amount of time to get them to listen and or
Or
to actually take in what I'm saying because I've had a lot of explanations.
there is a shutdown point, where yeah,
Yes,
I know
and
what you
it.
mean.
But the thing is if you can keep it as rational to them as possible, you get more time. I've literally had a 9/11 event or a 9/11 debate with somebody who just was a complete denier, and by the end of the stream, had said to me, "I can honestly say I can't say it wasn't or it was a false flag." And to me, that's a win because any other denier will go, "You're full of shit. Get out of
They're
here."
questioning it. Yeah, they're questioning it, in other words.
Yeah,
And that's a win. What did you think, or you may not have even heard about this, but what did you think if you've heard about it, all those babies they found in the attic of that funeral home?
I haven't heard anything about it, but I have heard about some Russian situation where they were doing stuff with fetuses. So again, I can't.
It was, they didn't say babies, they said babies and fetus remains, I think. So it was mainly fetuses.
Then I would 100%. I haven't heard about it, but I would believe it because I know that kind of crazy crap happens. And
Well, and then last week, my I was at my I was at my job, and they had the Fox News on, and it talked about another funeral home where they found like 10 fetuses.
yeah, see, it's
What?
one of the crazy things is that a lot of people don't know about it is the fact that the whole gene splicing and genetic modification, those things are huge right now when it comes to the science, and but they don't talk about it. And then shit like that happens, and we all flip the fuck out, like, "Oh, what the hell is going on?" But it or a situation that I heard about, oh, probably about 6 months ago, that I thought people were just completely insane for talking about. Where I think Anne is starting to talk about it, but like in Chicago, like all these people coming up missing for body parts, like I thought people were fucking crazy for talking about that. Then I've kind of found out that like this whole gene situation, like gene splicing and genetic modification, like all these things are like a big deal in science right now in the efficacy of doing it. So when you find that out, you're like, damn, almost anything's fucking possible. It's it.
I don't know what was going on with the fetus thing you talked about in Russia. What was going on there? It was a university that was getting into the research and science of gene splicing. So what they were So
doing,
were the fetuses like donated from like abortion clinics or something?
yeah, they were getting them from abortions, but apparently I'm pretty damn sure it's illegal here, but I know it was illegal there where it was happening at, and what ended up happening, I guess it was an illegal study, and instead of disposing properly and worrying about getting caught, one of the nurses actually put the remains like all in boxes and then just threw them out by a stream or some shit.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean
Well,
it's sickening. The worst part is they don't think that way. Like scientists and that are doing these type of things, they're cold blooded. Like they don't think it's wrong.
my sister posed the question to me. She's like, maybe these morticians, maybe the mothers were pregnant and their family didn't know, and they died, or whatever, and so they just hid the babies away. And I was like, well, why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just bury it with the mother?
Yeah, I mean that would seem to make more sense to me. And again, I hate even realizing it, but there's like a whole side of the the human brain that most people, us, we don't even couldn't even grasp how it works. Couldn't even that's the scary part. There's a whole population of people whose brains,
Dimension,
yeah,
demented people.
that just do not work anything like we are thinking. And I'm talking the people like this is how bad even the trolls that we deal with on a regular basis are nothing.
They're nothing.
They're
There are
nothing.
people out there that have a part of their brain, like you say, that is evil. It's like very, very wrong
Mm.
working.
And the all in all of it is that the government does so much, just does nothing for what is it? What's it called? The mental illness, like the programs and the help for someone who needs mental help. The government doesn't do anything for it. They do just enough so that they can't be accountable, but they don't care because well shit. We know a lot of them think the same damn way.
Yeah, my neighbor, which is my uncle, is a paranoid schizophrenic, and he's on government medication, but sometimes he doesn't take it, and I can tell when because I hear screaming coming from his house and all kinds of stuff.
Well,
Which we live out in the middle of nowhere, but
I was talking to somebody who's has family members in the same situation, and they were saying, and by no means is it anywhere near the same scale, but like I grew up and I was on medication for ADHD, and my dad took me off of it, and he was a firm believer that all medication does is hide the situation, and what he did is he took me off and figured out the methods to help me in school, to help me with my hyperactivity. I've definitely believe that.
and help you through diet
Yeah,
and
yeah, exactly.
you
Uh huh. Like the food, different foods I ate changed things. It's all in all. How much
there's nothing
effort?
wrong with a boy being hyper.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Oh, jeez. Well, see, well, first of all, yeah, period. But the way
Or
they
a
use it
girl for that
now, oh
matter.
my god.
Children, hyper's okay.
Well,
Adderall and Ritalin are it just really turns these children into zombies from anything I've seen.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and was talking about it in the chat. Yeah, and I was Ritalin. I wasn't Adderall. Um, Matter of fact, the thing is if I take Adderall, I don't get all uppy and awake. I go to sleep. It knocks me out. Those uppers, those things don't. If and that was kind of the weird thing about it. It was like because I definitely do believe that it is a thing. The difference is how it's handled. It's not something that needs medication by no means.
No,
But
it's
it
not.
but a kid like for instance myself, if a boy is that hyper, then most likely need to do more things with that child. The more every
Exactly.
the kids that are out of control and doing bad stuff, I can almost 100% guarantee you that the parents are at work while he's at home most of the day, or on the weekend the kid wants to go play and the adult's like I'm busy. That's when you start
Sit
seeing
down and watch some TV or blah, blah,
exactly.
blah, whatever.
Yeah, go. Anybody can do this. Go to, let's say, just go to a court, like any kind of court building, and just go sit in the hallway. It doesn't matter if you don't want to or not. Just sit there. Don't talk. Don't move. Just sit there. That restless feeling you feel is what a child feels when you do that. Imagine how they feel, and that's what I don't.
It's like anxiety.
Exact. It's what it is. It's 100% anxiety. Their body needs to be active, and you're telling them to sit and shut up. That's not what kids
Yeah.
do. It's not what they do.
No child should be told to sit and shut up unless there's certain situations, yes, where a child needs
Oh,
to
wait, wait,
learn
wait.
to
Yeah.
be quiet and
Let's get
sit.
one thing straight. There are badass kids that that need spankings, that need to sit down and shut. They trust me. There are those children,
Oh yeah.
but
I
it's the
had one. My son he was a little heathen, and I mean, I'm telling you, I never say anything like that, and he'll tell you to this day, He was a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. So was
He'll
I.
admit it.
I put my parents through hell. I mean, trust me. There's a lot of times where it was like,
But
okay, well,
I just beat him, you know.
oh yeah, yeah. That's what my parents did. Nowadays, you touch your child.
I beat him, and I was like, you're not, you don't get. We ain't having sodas. We ain't having sugar. You're on vegetables and.
Listen, my mother is smaller than me and my brother. My brother is 5'10", 265 pounds. We grew up that she is bigger than us. She will end our lives. That's how it should be. Kids need to
Yeah.
understand who the adult is. Now, if you grab your child's
I,
arm,
I'm five.
holy
I'm five
crap.
five, 5'6", and my son is 6'5".
And he will never, and you will kick his ass any day of the week. That's how it's supposed to
Yeah.
be. Now you can't even look at a child before he goes, what? And then picks up his iPhone 10 and goes, I will call somebody. That's the
Oh
ridiculous
yeah, my
part.
son threatened me that many times. He was like, "I'm gonna call 911 and tell him you beat me." I was like, "Do it."
I'll give you here. Take
He was
my
like,
cell
"They'll
phone.
take
I'll
me over
dial
there."
the
I was like,
number.
"Do it. Let them take you somewhere. See if they'll care about you more than I do.
Yeah, that's, oh yeah. Look,
Because nobody's gonna care about you more than I do." Is what I tell him.
I am very lucky. My son is very, I don't, it kind of worries me because I've always told,
He's passive.
oh, very well. He can be, but he is definitely not a problem child. I, I, I can. He's 11. I can leave
How'd you
him
get
at the
away
house.
with that?
I
Usually you get
see.
punished,
That's
for having a child worse than you.
yeah. That's what I'm scared of because he hasn't. He's not a teenager yet. He's very close. He's 11 years old.
Oh, okay.
I am.
Wait for it, dude.
Yeah. I'm terrified. I would have rather have gotten it over with before, and then
You wish you had the terrible twos.
yes, I would have been wonderful. My son grew up from, I mean, he was 4 years old, and he'd be like, "You want candy?" And he would choose fruits and vegetables over candy, and it scares me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, that's awesome. Maybe he will stay that way.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe he will stay very.
yeah.
You never know. Different people, different souls. You know.
Uh, I hope so. Man, ooh, I hope so. Because I've already told him.
I hope you don't get it all at like 15.
He better hope not, because I will punch him out. I'll knock him out. I don't care. I'll go to jail. What? I don't beat my.
Yeah.
I told him. I said, Sean, I don't spank you. I don't hit you. Nothing. But that's not because I don't want to. It's because I'm saving it up. So when you get old enough and big enough for me to, I could really just take that one time. It's all that stuff just
Oh,
saved up.
I did. I spanked my son almost on a regular basis because he was literally not what you have. It was constant, constant, to talk him back, not wanting to do what I wanted him to do. He's very, which I like about him. He's a strong individual. He's a free thinker. He didn't want to be tamed. So I like that spirit about him. To, you know,
It's
to
not.
this day, and he's awesome. He's a flat earther, or he doesn't like to consider himself a flat earther. He considers himself an earther.
it, at least it's not a shut up, mom, you're crazy. Because if my son ever does any of that, oh, I'll end his life. See, that's the one thing I'm so happy. He does things like children. Like, for instance, I can tell him to do something 1,000 times and he won't do it, but he won't do it maliciously. He just wants to be a kid. But
Yeah,
but there is that look I can give him that he'll step to right away.
like you
Like,
better do it now.
yeah. So, like I said, he's not. He's a kid, but he's not. He doesn't do anything. Get in trouble. He doesn't cuss. Like, I've had his friends come up and tell me how nice and polite he is, which, like I said, it scares the crap out of me. Because he's gonna hit 15 and what? Like, start buying guns and what? Like, I don't know. It's too good right
That's
now.
okay. There's nothing wrong with buying guns, Sean.
I live in California, not Texas. Doesn't work that way. I live in.
you know, my son, I homeschooled him when he was very young. He went to public school when he got older, but I homeschooled him when he was very young. And when he was like 10, I would wake up hearing something in the morning. He'd be on the computer at 3 in the morning doing his getting on the computer and doing his homework and getting his daily assignment done, which he could generally do most of his schoolwork in like 3 hours. And he would do that so that he could get done and we could be at the lake fishing before the sun came up because that was the best time to catch crappie.
And that's exactly how I was raised. I was raised like I pretty much used to do my homework at school, get home, not have homework, and me and my dad go off roading, or me and my dad go do something like that. And it's it boggles my mind how parents are just like, I got my own life. No, how do you have your own life? It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. What was I gonna say? One of the things that really threw me for one was when I was helping my son with his homework, and just recently he started bringing homework in that looked like hieroglyphics to me, and it scared me. I went, "Has it been that long since I've been to school?" And I really thought maybe I was going crazy, but I really think they're making homework harder. It just didn't look right. It didn't look like anything I'd ever seen before. All right, so actually, it is now time that I actually do have to go. It is time to get my child asleep, and so I can go into what I call no child land, when that is when he's sleeping and I don't have to make sure he stays alive. So uh, I do have to end the stream. Um,
All right,
I,
son. Good night.
yeah.
Sorry, I had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, no, no worries, no worries. Thank you for muting.
I you're welcome. I do agree with you. They're making school harder. It's more torturous for kids. It's like torture for these kids. I've seen some of these problems from the Common Core. That's what it's called, the Common Core. That's what they're teaching these kids these days, and it's insanity.
Yeah.
It's it makes these kids feel frustrated.
Oh
It's not
yeah.
simple math anymore, or simple anything. Not use propaganda to show. But I know you got to shut down. I just wanted to interject that because I heard you talking, and
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you I agree with you. School is different. It's not the same. It's more difficult, and not in a good way. They're like twisting things to make it harder for the children to understand simple things.
Oh yeah, big time. And it it I personally have seen a look on my child's face that made me want to go to the school and beat somebody up for that homework. Like,
Yeah, because it like makes the kid want to cry because they're like they it because they're trying to grasp something that's insanity.
exactly.
They're trying to teach them in a way of to make them crazy. It's like they're trying to make our kids crazy. Seriously,
Yeah, it's bad. It's
I
bad.
agree with you.
But that's also a whole nother story to get into. That eventually I
That is
probably
a
will.
whole nother long. We could talk about that for another hour.
Oh yeah. But yeah, again, more than welcome on my panel anytime, and I do appreciate you jumping on. It is so much easier to talk to somebody than myself.
Yeah, I know it is. It's hard to do it by yourself. I know.
But
So,
like I said,
thank you
anytime.
for letting me coming on, and thanks for the invite.
Yeah, no problem at all. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right, and love you all in chat. Hope y'all have a blessed evening, day, morning, whatever you're doing right now.
Yep. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Sean, have a good night.
You too. All right, peoples. I do hope that this stream was very informative. Um, Along with that, it gives me an opportunity to release the weeks of research that I've been doing, and the stuff that I actually been holding back to talk about because I want to put it into one uh, informative stream. Again, like I said, there's so much more that needs to be said about the situation when it comes to the climate and all that stuff. Again, I don't believe that it is as dire as they say it is. But at the same time, it can't be great for the environment. It can't be a complete hoax or whatnot. But I do 100% believe that the 12 year window that they have given us is complete bullshit. I do believe that the methods and the solutions that they do have will only come as long as it makes them money. And as long as it makes them money, we will always have the same problem. The best way to figure out whether or not they really want to solve the situation will be how much they're willing to lose to get this solution taken care of. Guys, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys listening to me rant for so long, because I do it a lot. But I all I want to do is get this information out to you guys. And it's the same. I get to learn too. There are things that I realize I have to go into and look and better research a little bit more. So I thank you guys. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
Duke wins. Fatality.
And I will get that Discord link. It'll be in the description, so give me a second. Matter of fact, make it quicker. The last live stream I did, if you're trying to look for the Discord link, I'm going to go change that first to the correct one.
I wear my scars like a badge. Had to work hard for the cash. Go and tell them why you mad. Bitch, I be all in my bag.
Slickest old head you ever see. I'm connected, you can tether me. Chase it till I'm in that Royce truck with the 7 seats. They say I'm hot, like fucking on leather sheet. I'm 5 alarm blazing, level 3. Had to fight my way out of this devil teeth. Baltimore official, sit me right next to Mellow seat. Fantasize on that lime green Lambo with the yellow seats. Puffing that lime green with the yellow streaks. With a fine piece with the jello cheek. After 2 shots in the lead, I tell her eat. I hit the lights and turn the switch on. I never sleep. You pussies is hella sweet. Give them 1, but I sell them 3. Get them done, watch the rebel eat. Let the bass ride, let the treble speak. I'm on the bass line, you better let them eat. Duke crush and tell them better bag. Foul play, you gon' catch a flag. Drumming the mag, come through with nothing on top of the jag. Bitch, I be all in my bag. Bitch, I be all in my bag.
I got the drip, watch me drag.
Bitch, I be all in my bag. I wear my scars like a badge. Had to work hard for the cash. Go and tell them why you mad. Bitch, I be all in my bag. I wear my scars like a badge. Had to work hard for the cash. Go and tell them why you mad. Bitch, I be all in my bag. I wear my scars like a badge. Had to work hard for the cash. Go and tell them why you mad. Bitch, I be all in my bag. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm from the era where they fuck you up, then they take your tennis. Always on my grizzly like I play for Memphis. Mr. Triple Double, I don't do the bitches. Get the pen and pad and knock it down to business. Flip the work, stretch the calisthenics. You just getting started, I'm about to finish. Kicking my feet, then light up the spinners. We get a pack and flip it like a gymnast. Tell me what the fuck you know about the trenches. Everywhere from over east to the village. Run the game through the streets like a scrimmage. Keep it 100, don't need me no gimmick. Flow is wicked, so you know I'ma kill it. You study my shit, so you know it's a mimic. But we know the difference from Bentleys and Civics. I'm not finished, always on my pivot. See it coming, anyone can get it. Except for them thoughts and them pigeons. Promoting violence, who with it? Rest in peace to my critics. Moment of silence, crickets. I wear my scars like a badge. Had to work hard for the cash. Go and tell them why you mad. Bitch, I be all in my bag. I wear my scars like a badge. Had to work hard for the cash. Go and tell them why you mad. Bitch, I be all in my bag. I wear my scars like a badge. Had to work hard for the cash. Go and tell them why you mad. Bitch, I be all in my bag. I wear my scars like a badge. Had to work hard for the cash. Go and tell them why you mad. Bitch, I be all in my bag.
Slickest old head you ever see. I'm connected, you can tether me. Chase it till I'm in that Royce truck with the 7 seats. They say I'm hot, like fucking on leather sheet. I'm 5 alarm blazing, level 3. Had to fight my way out of the devil teeth. Baltimore official, sit me right next to Mellow seat. Fantasize on that lime green Lambo with the yellow seats. Puffing that lime green with the yellow streaks. With a fine piece with the jello cheeks. After 2 shots in the lead.